Sometimes I worry about my heart when I work out while I'm on medication because while I'm on it, my heart rate increases fairly easily. It's called Vivance. So for heart conditions, dude, don't worry about any of that shit, dude. Just push yourself as hard as you can. No, I'm just kidding. All research shows links between running and osteoarthritis. People think that running wears out the cartilage in your knees, but I think most research shows it's not attributed to running itself, only running with injury or running with bad form or being overweight, sure. We also had a lot more free time, but I guess we spent that free time doing things other than sitting. Yeah, sitting is supposedly really, really bad for you. I need to research this more. I'm uncomfortable repeating this without like actually looking it up, but like I've heard that like sitting is about as bad as smoking. That it's like a really, really, really negative thing that we need to worry about. But running on concrete is probably worse than anything else. Maybe. I would guess that the worst thing is it's probably better to run on concrete than running on concrete on bare feet. It's probably better than running on dirt with shoes, though. I think the shoes like really fuck with our ability to run well. I've read that in a lot of places, and it kind of makes sense. What part of your body does it harm? Well, it's just that like we're so active as like a creature. Like we've evolved in an environment where we're constantly moving, constantly active, constantly out and about and doing things. And just the idea of like just sitting in one place for 10 hours, I don't think is very healthy, right? I can name one pretty bad result: pulmonary embolism. Sitting for too long can cause blood clots. Isn't it? Pulmonary embolisms are different than DVT, isn't it? Or is DVT a type of pulmonary embolism? Oh, wait, or is pulmonary embolism, that's just the name for when a clot reaches your heart, right? Or is that, oh, no, to the lungs? To the lungs. I'll just read these parts. So this is like, sorry. The posture of sitting itself probably isn't worse than any other type of daytime physical inactivity, like lying on the couch watching Wheel of Fortune, but for most of us, when we're waking up moving, we're sitting. This is your body on chairs. Electrical activity in the muscles drops. The muscles go as silent as those of a dead horse, Hamilton says, leading to a cascade of harmful metabolic effects. Your calorie burning rate immediately plunges to about 1 per minute, a third of what it would be if you got up and walked. Insulin effectiveness drops within a single day, and the risk of developing type 2 diabetes rises. So does the risk of being obese. The enzymes responsible for breaking down lipids and triglycerides for vacuuming up fat of the bloodstream, as Hamilton puts it, plunges, which in turn causes the level of good cholesterol to fall. Hamilton's most recent work has examined how rapidly inactivity can cause harm. In studies of rats who were forced to be inactive, for example, he discovered that the leg muscles responsible for standing almost immediately lost more than 75% of their ability to remove harmful lipoproteins from the blood. To show that the ill effects of sitting could have a rapid onset in humans too, Hamilton recruited 14 young, fit, and thin volunteers and recorded a 40% reduction in insulin's ability to uptake glucose in the subjects after 24 hours of being sedentary. Over a lifetime, the unhealthful effects of sitting add up. Alpa Patel, an epidemiologist at the American Cancer Society, tracked the health of 123,000 Americans between 1992 and 2006. The men in the study who spent 6 hours or more per day at their leisure time sitting had an overall death rate that was about 20% higher than the men who sat for 3 hours or less. The death rate for women who sat for more than 6 hours a day was about 40% higher. Patel estimates that on average, people who sit too much shave a few years off their lives. Another study, I hope they controlled for confounds here. I'm gonna hope so, but I'm not entirely sure. But another study published last year in the Journal of Circulation looked at nearly 9,000 Australians and found that for each additional hour of television a person sat and watched per day, the risk of dying rose by 11%. The study author David Dunstan wanted to analyze whether the people who sat watching television had other unhealthful habits that caused them to die sooner. But after crunching the numbers, he reported that age, sex, education, smoking, hypertension, waist circumference, BMI, glucose tolerance status, and leisure time exercise did not significantly modify the associations between television viewing and all-cause mortality. So this goes into saying that like just the idea of sitting for huge periods of time can take a toll on your health. Sitting, it would seem, is an independent pathology. Being sedentary for 9 hours a day at the office is bad for your health, whether you go home and watch television afterwards or hit the gym. It's bad whether you're morbidly obese or a marathon runner thin. Excessive sitting, Dr. Levine says, is a lethal activity. The good news is that inactivity's peril can be countered. Working late one night at 3 a.m., Dr. Levine coined a name for the concept of reaping major benefits through thousands of minor movements each day, NEAT, which stands for Non-Exercise Activity Thermogenesis. In the world of NEAT, even the little stuff matters. McCready Spitzer showed me a chart that tracked my calorie burning rate with zigzagging lines like those of a seismograph. What's that? I asked, pointing to one of the spikes, which indicated that the rate had shot up. That's when you bent over to tie your shoes, she said. It took your body more energy than just sitting still. In a motion tracking study, Dr. Levine found that obese subjects averaged only 1,500 daily movements and nearly 600 sitting minutes. In my trial with the magic underwear, I came out looking somewhat better, 2,234 individual movements and 367 minutes sitting. But I was still nowhere near the farm workers Dr. Levine had studied in Jamaica, who averaged 5,000 daily movements and only 300 minutes sitting. Dr. Levine knows that we can't all be farmers, so instead he's exploring ways for people to redesign their environments so that they can encourage more movement. We visited a chairless first grade classroom where the students spent each part of the day crawling along mats labeled with vocabulary words and jumping between platforms while reciting math problems. We stopped by a human resources staffing agency where many of the employees worked on the move at treadmill desks, a creation of Dr. Levine's, later sold by a company called Steelcase. Dr. Levine was in a philosophical mood as we left the temp agency. For all the hard science against sitting, he admits that his campaign against what he calls the chair-based lifestyle is not limited to simply a quest for better physical health. His is a war against inertia itself, which he believes sickens more than just our body. Go into Cubeland in a tightly controlled corporate environment, and you immediately sense that there's a malice about being tied behind a computer screen seated all day. He said, the soul of the nation is sapped, and now it's time for the soul of the nation to rise. I'd imagine this is an issue for those on the ISS as well. Oh, yeah, for sure. Things like bone density and whatnot drop hardcore when you spend any amount of time on the International Space Station. People that come back to Earth have to spend I thought it was weeks, but chat correct me, it was like months in a wheelchair, even with resistance training. I guess it's kind of like if you take a really complicated program and then you try to I don't know. I'm trying to think of an analogy. I can't think of an analogy. Listen. We have spent millions and millions and millions of years doing particular things, like living the hunter-gatherer lifestyle. So the whole sitting down for all day and doing computer stuff and all that, that's it's really, really, really recent. So there could be really far-reaching negative effects that are happening that are not immediately apparent or immediately noticeable, just because obviously we haven't had time at all to adapt. And we never will have time to adapt in an evolutionary sense, right? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of that type of research. How fucked are we going to be because of stuff like that? Is it bad that I do anything strenuous with parts of my body? My body shakes a lot and I can't stop it. Turb, how much do you weigh and how tall are you? Because there's two things that could be going on. Time to flex my house diagnosis skills. I'm 170 pounds and 6 feet tall. That sounds about right. What would that be, a little bit on the low end of normal? What is normal BMI? Oh, a little bit on the high end of normal. Damn. Okay, but still normal. The two things that I know of personally that causes shakiness, assuming that you're not have a sugar deficiency and you're dying of type 1 diabetes or some shit. So if you don't do anything and if you don't do anything and you're very, very, very weak, if you watch somebody go to do a bench press, right? There's so much that goes into the movement of your body. Holy shit, there's so much. It's so complicated. When you go to push a weight up, right? If you're bench pressing, you've got, I think, is it 2 primary movers or 3 primary movers? Your pecs, your big boob muscles, are the ones that do most of the pushing. I think it's your anterior deltoids, the front of your shoulders, push as well. And then you've got your triceps, which help to extend, right? So whenever you do a lift, I don't know if all 3 of those count as primary movers. I'm pretty sure they do. Fuck, what's that exercise website? Hold on. Target muscle is going to be your big mover, and then synergists are also your, I guess these don't count as primary movers. I don't know if you're, so anterior delts and then your triceps. I don't know if these count as primary movers or not. Your primary mover might only be your chest. I don't know how different people define it, but basically you've got those 3 big muscles are involved in actually moving the weight, right? But So there are two things that happen as you start lifting. Okay, the first thing that happens is when you start to move a weight. There's two types of adaptations that occur that allow you to move weight without being like fucking shaky as fuck. The first thing that happens is your stabilizers, right? You have these things called dynamic stabilizers, and what they help you do is they help you move the weight like in a smooth manner, right? So your biceps, which are used for pulling, right, which are used for this motion in your arm, also help you when you're pushing because they help to stabilize your muscle around the joint, right? Because every joint has muscles that move it like forward and backwards. So having your stabilizers helps you keep from shaking in that sense. So actually like working out those muscles can make your movements around joints more stable, which is good. And then the second thing that happens is that as you move more weight or as you start moving weight, central nervous system adaptation occurs, right? Your CNS adapts as well, so that you're actually capable of moving weight in like in a steady manner without being like a shaky person doing it. So if you're super shaky when you move things, usually like if you train at it for a little bit and your muscles develop and then your mind gets a little bit better at utilizing and recruiting all of your muscle fibers, that'll help. And then, yeah, I think that's the main thing. But you could also be shaky because you don't eat at all or because you have like a fucking sugar problem and you're dying. But yeah. I did do some weight training, but I stopped at some point for a while. Yeah, if you stick with it, you'll stop shaking. Like the shaking is going to be really common when you first start because all of your stabilizers are totally undeveloped, and it's a mind thing too. Like the CNS adaptations that occur are really important as well when it comes to weightlifting. The ability to like actually recruit all of your muscle fibers to do a lift is a really big part. That CNS adaptation is a really big part. That's why some exercises are harder than others and are even more exhausting too. Like things like deadlifting or squatting are like hugely taxing on your CNS, or it's why I don't know if this is true or not, but some people will say that like if you're stuck on your bench, that like deadlifting and squatting can help other exercises that are totally unrelated because the CNS adaptation and stressing and everything that occurs can cause. I don't know if that's true or not. That might be a little bro sciencey, but I've heard people say that like if you get stuck on exercises doing like totally unrelated shit that's massively CNS taxing can help you on other stuff too. But I don't know. This is a concept known as greasing the groove, the idea that you have to actually practice lifting. Yeah, sure. What were your personal bests in your lifts? All pathetic as fuck. I got my deadlift up to 2 plates. Well, the next time we start lifting, we'll go for 3 plates, okay? Whew. Someday. Listen, the problem is that like I don't want to start lifting again if I'm not eating properly, you know? And I don't want to start eating properly if I'm not lifting again, because what's the point? So it's like you're stuck in a perpetual state of being a lazy piece of shit. I think the CNS adaptations are a big reason why, like, if you start working out and then you stop, if you start again, it's easier to rebuild muscle that you've had before. You'll lose muscle really fucking fast. Holy shit, or at least I do. I lose muscle insanely fucking quick if I stop working out. But if you start working out again, you can recover older muscle quicker than building new muscle, if that makes sense. Opinions on rock climbing for fitness. A lot of lifters hate rock climbers for some reason. So like in an ideal world, we're into totally subjective bullshit. In an ideal world, in my opinion, lifting is an accessory activity that you do to build upon a primary activity. So like, now for me personally, I would never do that because I don't do physical primary activities. I would just lift to lift. Like when I lifted, I just lifted because I enjoyed lifting. Well, not because I enjoyed lifting. Fuck that. Because I wanted to get stronger and look better. But like if you do rock climbing, like in my opinion, like that should be like your primary goal. And if you go and you lift, then you lift around rock climbing, right? Like that's it. So like people that do like football, when you lift, when you condition for football, you go to the gym to help you with football. You go to the gym, right? Yeah. Ideally, you'd never need to lift weights, right? You would just be physically active enough to not need to. Maybe like in a super ideal world, but like, I don't know. Like the thing is that like lifting can confer other benefits as well. If like here's an example, right? Like if you can deadlift, 3 plates, you might not be picking up 300 pounds of shit on the daily, but if you've got to carry like an awkwardly shaped like 200-pound box or like a 150-pound desk, having a 315-pound deadlift gives you like the structure to do that safely, And I don't know, like I think, like I personally notice a difference. Like I think that like just lifting gives you more of a we're dipping into the bro science a little bit, but like it gives you like a slightly higher kinesthetic awareness, I think, of your body. So like if I look back to how I used to pick things up before and after learning to deadlift, like it's cringeworthy. So like today, if I try to pick something up, I'll never hurt my back picking something up because I know how to pick stuff up now because I know how to do deadlifts, right? Whereas like before, I would do the thing where you lean over, you pick it up, and then you have like when your back does this, because you're lifting up and you're letting you're loosening up everything in your trunk and you're just letting it hang off your fucking spine like that shit. I'm like, I'll never pick something up like that again ever because I know how to pick shit up, you know, like having a neutral back and everything is really important. So I think that like getting involved in exercises that like at least like big compound lifts that help you move your whole body, I think is probably important to some extent, and that building up that muscle in general, it makes you a better, more physically capable of doing things, right? You can still pull something even with perfect form. It happens all the time, even to experienced lifters. I mean, if you're warming up properly and you maintain proper form, unless you're like unless you're like pushing it, you shouldn't really pull something, no? If you're pulling something, that sounds like you're not doing a proper warm up. I'm not saying it could never happen, but I mean, like, it seems like that if that's happening, it probably shouldn't be. It happens mostly with weight you are familiar with, so you don't pay attention too much. Oh, well, sure. I mean, if you're just derping about, then yeah, of course, you can always hurt yourself.
That thing for you. All right, boys, now watch how this is done. The key is to put it all in your groin and your back. Take your legs totally out of the equation. Lift with your lower back in a jerking, twisting motion. Ah!
Peter!
Oh, my God. Call an ambulance!
Where's the guy that did the video on, what did he call them? Like, negative deadlifts or something? I don't even know what he called it, but where you deadlift with it behind you to work out your outer back. I never could tell if this was a meme or not. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Oh, it's the reverse deadlift. Is this a real thing, Hillshire?
Deadlift.
It's called the barbell back squat. Oh, barbell hack squat. So one interesting meme is that the whole point of your back, the whole point of making your back strong is to make it so that it basically never moves, right? That's the whole point of having so basically anytime you're picking something up, you want to keep your back in like a neutral protected position, meaning it's not like perfectly straight, but like in a neutral position, right? And then your muscles and everything are supposed to support things. This is one of the reasons why I have heard people say, I'm not telling you to do this or not do this, but I've heard people say things like sit-ups are actually really unhealthy exercises, that sit-ups are not a real exercise that you should ever do because they encourage you to use your back in a motion that is insanely unnatural, and that is using your back to bend it while you do a sit-up. That is like the antithesis to the reason why you do anything involving working out your core or working out your back, that in no other exercise will you ever be bending your back like you do in a sit-up, that it's just like the dumbest exercise in the world. I've heard that, and I've seen like really strong arguments put out in a lot of places for that there's literally no reason to ever do a sit-up, and it's like the dumbest exercise in the world. Pretty sure the military does planking now. Planks are fine. Planks, because it's a neutral back and all you do is tighten your abs or whatever, and I guess your booty, your glutes. I'm not using timers, okay? Ain't nobody got time for that bullshit. But thank you for your suggestion. Do crunches keep a straight back? Isn't that only in proper form? I thought proper form is using the abs to keep the torso straight for sit-ups. Can you really keep your back straight in a sit-up? I don't know if you can. Well, I'm trying to think if that's possible. Maybe for women, but men tend to be more top heavy, right? I feel like if I were to try to do a straight sit up, I would just fall back. Maybe?
They're gonna be a fist distance C curve.
Maybe that's just because my upper body is just so fucking shredded that it's like really hard.
The spine away from the.
You know? Like this movement right here where she starts, like, doesn't look like a good movement to me, right? Like this part. Because your back goes from being when you're laying down to being relatively neutral and protected, right? A neutral back is a protected back. From being that to like that movement there. Like if you were to see anybody do a similar movement like that for squatting or for deadlifting, you would tell them to stop immediately. If they were to go to pick up a weight and the way that they started, if they started that lift like this, like with the top of your back curling like that, like you'd be like, whoa, chill, like you're gonna hurt yourself. You're probably not gonna hurt yourself like just doing a sit up, but it's just not a way. It just doesn't seem like a healthy way to move your back, right? She is showing how not to do it. Oh, she might have been, maybe. I don't know. Doing a sit up with your back straight the entire time seems really fucking hard. Like not worth it. I don't know. It's okay to be rounding your upper back in a lot of exercises. Lower back is the issue. Can you name an exercise where you round your upper back? I'm trying to think of. I'm not talking shit. I genuinely don't know. I'm just trying to think of like, what's like an exercise where you would round your upper back? Also, I feel like I would be really scared to be consciously rounding my upper back, but keeping my lower back straight. It seems like it would be really hard to do. Some guys round their upper back in a deadlift. When you're going heavy on... Okay, obviously if you're doing like PRs or some shit. Do you think I shouldn't be working out every day starting out since I'm weak? Like do it every other day? It totally depends on the program you're doing. It totally depends. If you're doing like SSL shit, I think you can do every day. I think the general rule of thumb, firstly, you should just follow... If you're doing a program, just follow the program and don't constantly ask other people how you can change it. Just follow whatever program you're doing. But I think like the general rule of thumb is you usually want 1 to 2 days of rest between groups, I think, right? Yo, what the fuck? Chill. But then different muscles can take different rest, and it's so variable, dude. Like you should just follow whatever program you're on. Like for instance, like your shoulders, I don't think you could overhead press 3 days a week. I could be wrong. Oh, I said SSL. I'm sorry, PPL. I just did my SSL cert for my website. PPL, push pull legs, or push pull lower. I don't actually know what PPL stands for. What does the L stand for? But like, yeah, like I don't think you could overhead press like every other day. I think you would kill your fucking shoulders doing it. I could be wrong, but for something like your back, like you can deadlift every other day starting out. You can squat every other day starting out for sure. But once you'll start to reach like levels where you need more time to recover, but you'll be advanced enough at that point. What's your opinion on working out early in the morning versus later in the day? So some people, dude, when it comes to exercising preferences, like everybody has their preferences. Some people like to eat. For me personally, I liked to eat and then work out like in the next, like within the hour of that, because that made me feel super fucking strong. I love doing that. But other people like the Hodge twin dudes, those guys like to wake up and they like to work out on an empty stomach. They said that they enjoy, I think that they both said that they work out without eating anything at all, that's more enjoyable for them. And I've heard people say both things, that some people like to eat a meal and then work out a little bit after. Some people like to work out on an empty stomach and then eat after working out. Some people will work out early in the morning because that's when your T levels are highest and shit. Some people will work out later at night because after that they can go to sleep. Like it really just, it's whatever you like to do, whatever keeps you the most active, whatever feels the best for you. Yeah, I don't know. It's just. What do you think about personal trainers? I think it's psychological assistance for some people. Okay, here is the big meme about weightlifting, okay? Here is the most important fucking thing about lifting weights, okay? The 100% most important thing is find something and stick to it. This is why bro science exists, okay? Because some guy can go to the gym and jerk off for 2 hours, okay? And just fucking walk around and hit up random fucking machines and do fuck all. And then after 2 years, he will have results, okay? The guy that goes to the gym and fucks around on random machines for 2 years is always going to be better off than the person that theory crafts the 100% perfect pre-workout, post-workout, diet, and exercise plan, but only manages to go every other week or a couple times a month because of like blah, blah, blah bullshit, right? This is why bro science exists, because people will get results doing anything. Like, just find whatever you can do, find what you can do, and do it often, and like, that's like the best starting point that you can do it, you know? Be careful not to fall into the anti-starting strength. So like, people probably circle jerked starting strength like way too fucking much in the beginning, mainly because it didn't coincide with like people's actual desires. Like, a lot of people just want like a nice upper body. So when you get a fucking workout program that's telling you to squat 37 fucking times a month, and then also to drink a gallon of fucking milk every 2 hours so that you gain like 400 fucking pounds so you can build up a healthy trunk of strength, right? Like, obviously that's retarded, but don't go like crazy in the other direction either. Like, I don't know. For me personally, I like starting strength. I really liked adding more and more numbers to my squat every time I would go to the gym. Like, that was exciting for me. Or for deadlifting, more and more weight. Like, that was really cool for me. I don't know. Everybody likes different shit. Just find what you want. Like, figure out what your goal is, and then go from there, right? And be honest with your goal too. Like, don't tell yourself some bullshit ass lie like, well, I want to be a healthier person that is that has like better flexibility. Like, if you just want like a sexy fucking upper body or whatever, then just focus on that shit, dude. Fucking go do there's 50 million different. We've got bicep press. We've got what's the what is this one? Flies. You can do your barbell, or you can do your well, you could do barbell flies, I guess, if you got 2 barbells. Do your dumbbell flies, get in your machine and do your butterfly shit. Do your barbell bench press, your dumbbell bench press, your incline barbell bench press, your incline dumbbell bench. Do your 50 minutes, like whatever, dude. Whatever gets you in the gym doing your shit, man. I know what HIIT is. That's high intensity interval training, which is supposedly the best thing to do if you're trying to burn calories. I've never done it personally before, but... Do you have abs and muscles on your body? Every single person has abs. It's just getting the fat out of the way to see them. Sometimes I worry about my heart when I work out while I'm on medication, because while I'm on it, my heart rate increases fairly easily. It's called Vivance. So for heart conditions, dude, don't worry about any of that shit, dude. Just push yourself as hard as you can. No, I'm just kidding. If you have pre-existing medical conditions, you should consult your medical professional before you do any type of strenuous physical activity. So talk to your doctor, see what they recommend. He's going to know your health profile. He's going to know your medication. He's going to know the specific risks related to your medication better than anybody else will. That's something that I would 100% talk to my doctor about before pursuing heavily. How many caffeine pills should you take per workout? 3 or 4? Pre-workout never did much for me. I never really felt anything from pre-workout. Other people feel differently though. There are some people that really, really enjoy taking pre-workout. I don't know. For me, I don't know. I never felt like it helped much. It's also possible that maybe I didn't reach a level of strength where like the pre-workout like really helps. Like, the little things start mattering a lot more when you start to get to like those upper levels, or when you start to get to like very high levels of strength too. So it's possible that I was just never strong enough to where. What? What do you mean what? The need for complexity in any given strength training program increases as the level of skill increases. That's pretty simple to understand. But it doesn't work at lower levels. It might work at lower levels, but what I'm saying is that if you're a beginner, no matter what the fuck you do, you're gonna see results, period. Even if you're doing dumb shit. But now, as you get further and further along in weightlifting, as you become stronger, you're gonna have to stop doing dumb shit if you really wanna push yourself, right? Like, if you're struggling, okay? If you're struggling to get your squat from like 115 to 125, nobody is going to tell you like, okay, Well, first, we need to hardcore analyze your diet. Like, let's see, like, are you getting exactly the right number of micronutrients? Do you think, like, we need to make sure that you're doing the right pre-workout? We've got to make sure that you're getting, like, the perfect amount of sleep. Like, are you only sleeping 8 hours a night? Maybe you need to bump that up to 9.5. Like, if you're having that much trouble from 115 to 135 or 125, like, there's probably something else going on. Like, you're fucking up something really basic, right? Whereas if you've got, like, a 3-plate squat, or you're trying to get to, like, you know, like 355 or some shit, then it's like, okay, well, now we have to hardcore min-max your training program because you're reaching a level of strength where, like, every little thing is going to matter. That's what I'm saying.
Guys, how can I stop sitting monkus?
It just sounds weird that something wouldn't work for you because you weren't lifting enough. It's not that it wouldn't work for you. It's just that, like, min-maxing little things like that just isn't as important when you're... if that makes sense? I don't know how else to explain it. I mean, it would work. Everything works. Or, like, doing things perfectly from the beginning would be good, too. You just don't necessarily need to. Like,